Hey Debbie, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate it. Oftentimes, I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become an anthem for me. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Debbie, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry, you know. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Debbie, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. It was such a beautiful moment for me that day. And not just mangoes, but ripe mangoes. So I was so excited. It was such a lovely moment that day. Here's my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Debbie that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to say nope to you. To say, getting to read about you, a little bit about you, inside your philosophies, and the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solution. It's amazing. And I just couldn't wait for this conversation to happen. So thank you so very much for investing in yourself. I truly appreciate it. And secondly, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Beautiful. So let's get started. Okay, where do we begin from? You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for, let's see, two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Debbie, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Debbie, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very, very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Debbie on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Debbie, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So those folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Debbie, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. Because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Debbie got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Debbie, over to you.
So, how Debbie got here, right? Is that what we're looking for?
Right.
Okay. All right. So, my journey as a believer in Jesus started very early. I didn't have a Christian parents, but they did want to make sure that I was involved. I guess they wanted to make sure I had a good moral background and that I had a solid foundation to build my faith on. And what they didn't know was that I just fell in love with Jesus and I wanted to be there all the time. So, I made a decision early on. I knew I wanted Jesus to be my Savior and my Lord in my life. And so I chose that very early in life. And what I found is that when people make a decision very early in life, It may be that they don't have a big, huge transformation story before Jesus, but after Jesus and our journey, that we get to go through lots of different things and we get to see Him work in us. And so for me, one of the biggest challenges that I've had in my Christian walk was the fact that my husband and I wanted to have children and we could not get pregnant. And if you know me very well, you would know that I'm a very determined person. And so I will work my way very hard to get where I need to get. And we just couldn't get pregnant, couldn't get pregnant. And we ended up in a fertility study where we got there was a placebo drug and a fertility drug, and we ended up on the fertility drug, and we ended up pregnant with twins initially, is what we thought. And then eventually, after we thought I was attempting to lose those children, we ended up at the high risk doctor and found out we were pregnant with quads. Okay. And if anything will rock your world is when you find out, oh my gosh, you're going to have all of these kids. And what are you going to do? And so for me, what I ended up doing was saying, okay, God, we'll trust you each step of the way and we'll figure out what we're going to do. And so we started on a journey of trusting God each step of the way with that pregnancy. And as it turns out, our boys were born around 26 weeks. And at 26 weeks, decades ago, they did not have the medical ability to save those children. Their lungs just were not built enough. They weren't developed enough. And so, as the first child was born, as Zach was born, they put him in my arms, and he ultimately passed away. But as he laid there in my arms and breathed his last breaths, he put his finger around my hand around my finger, and he squeezed and he said, "Hey, Mom, I'm here. I love you." And he passed away, and we were able to spend time with him. And then I got a serious infection, and they were concerned that I wasn't going to be able to make it with the other boys. And the rest of the boys were born about 4 hours later. So all four of our quads passed away in my arms. And it was during that time that I had to choose if I was going to trust God in this difficult situation. And I had so wanted to be a parent, and this was my dream. And here I am going to the hospital to give birth, but now I'm planning funerals. And that was really hard. And what I found is that as we walk through our Christian journey, that God is waiting for us to ask the right questions sometimes. And the question that naturally comes out of me is this question of, why me, God? Why are you doing this to me? Why does it happen this way? Why? And what I found is that no answer on this side of heaven to why did my boys have to die will ever satisfy me. It never will. You can't tell me anything that would take away my pain and that would help me through my suffering. God just couldn't give me an answer that I would ever accept. And as I've gotten wiser and older, one of the things that I've realized is that when I get to heaven, why won't matter, because there's no pain, there's no sorrow. My boys are there, Jesus is there, and joy is there, and it just won't matter. So, what God is asking us to do and what He asked me to do is, hey, I want you to open your hands up and give me your why question. And I want you to trust me with that. And then I want you to ask me what God wanted me to ask was, how do I survive? How do I survive this difficult, horrible thing that I've gone through? And knowing that I still want kids. And that night in the hospital, I just put a stake in the ground and I said, God, I know no other way other than to trust you. I've tried everything else. I don't know any way to work my way through this. So, how do I survive? And sometimes I made it, oh, maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds. And then I had to put a new stake in the ground. And sometimes I made it 3 minutes and 5 minutes and eventually a day and eventually months. And, now I can do that very easily. And as I took the next best step, God showed me and taught me how to work my way through that. And then the question changed, and it changed to a question of how do I thrive? I didn't want to be decades down the road of losing my boys and stuck. And so I wanted God to redeem my story and to use it. And for us, what that meant was he took us on a journey of adoption. So we've adopted 9 kids over the years. And
Wow.
that is the way we built yeah, so that's the way we built our family. And ultimately, the ministry that I run, which works with families and helps them thrive, ultimately comes out of that deep pain and deep loss that God is using to redeem that story to invest in other lives and invest in my children's lives and help families. And so that is one of the big journeys that God's had me on in learning how to trust Him with my story and my pain so that He could take that and make it into something truly amazing.
And I tell you, this is truly amazing. It was as though you shouldn't stop talking. I tell you, I found your story very, very inspiring, Deb. Because you see, a lot of people need to understand something. That there are some stories that shouldn't go unheard. And yours is among those stories. And I love the part where you said, how can you thrive in this? How can you survive this? You don't want to remain stuck. Now you want to thrive in this. You want to survive this. That's a great perspective. Because you see, I believe there might be some ones listening right now who are stuck in one thing or another. But you see, when they get to that part where you mentioned that you don't want to be stuck in this, you want to survive this, you want to overcome this, it will minister to them one way or another and inspire them. I am so sure of that. And that's amazing, the fact that you adopted 9 kids now. That's a beautiful word. You know why? Because now you've given those kids now a beautiful destiny. You've rewritten their destiny because the devil at times just use that avenue to make those kids not have a future. They're abandoned and all of that now. So with stuff that you're doing now, oh boy, that's amazing. And I love the fact that
Hmm.
you are sharing your story. You're not keeping it to yourself because right now you've just inspired me. I tell you, your
Hmm.
story is really inspiring, and I'm definitely going to share with others. Thank you for sharing that. So let's proceed. Yeah, I've got some questions here. So, about leadership now. So, what leadership roles have you held in faith-based organization?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, you need to know that I am a builder, so I am always if there's a vacuum in leadership, I'm going to fill it because I can't stand to not have us moving and have an objective. So. When I first started my career, I was working in the public sector as an engineer, but God called me into seminary after losing the boys. And since that time, I have been on a leader on church staffs, whether it was an executive pastor or children's pastor. I also had the opportunity to run several states prison ministry for Chuck Colson and Prison Fellowship. And then now I serve as CEO of Anchor Point and the multifaceted ministry that we've developed over the last 15 years.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay, talk to us about Anchor Point. What is Anchor Point? And how does Anchor Point support family?
Yes, sure. Anchor Point is a ministry that came out of the loss of my boys. And the whole goal of Anchor Point is to help families thrive. So we have several branches of our ministry. The first is a medical clinic that works with young girls who are trying to decide whether or not they would choose life for the child that they carry. So we do free ultrasounds, material assistance, anything you can think of on the medical side to work with that family. Then our Hope Family Center works with young families once they've decided to choose life, and we do case management and kind of come alongside, look at what's going on, what's working, what's not working. I don't know about you, but you don't get a lot of information once you get pregnant. You just kind of figure your way. And so we come alongside them and we go, okay, let's see what your next step is. And let's keep you going. And if you need housing, if you need help with medical stuff, insurance, if you need help with education, let's see if we can help connect you and make those things happen so we can make this parenting thing work. We also have a maternity home called Hope House that is for young girls who are homeless and pregnant, and is an 18-month program where we look at how can we help these young ladies figure out what they need to do to be successful and to be able to be independent with this little child that they're going to have. So, if you need to go back to school, if you need just a safe place to stay, if you need a job, let's figure those things out. Everything that you need to do spiritually, we look at all those things. And then our last piece that we do is our Hope Community Initiatives. And these are all our parenting training, prenatal training. We do recovery groups for people who've experienced sexual abuse or abortion or trauma. We run therapeutic camps for children and their families that the parents are struggling with, I don't know what to do with this kiddo. Like some of mine come with very difficult backgrounds. And so we come alongside those families, and then we just do whatever we can in the arena of coming alongside families just to lift the tide and help these families figure their way through, because unfortunately our kids don't come with an instruction manual, but our kids are the instruction manual. And so we have to learn how to read our kids and be this great private investigator to figure out what's going on in the head of that kid so that I can connect with them, see their preciousness, love their heart, and call out of them all the beautiful things that God has, and not get distracted by the fact that this kid's losing it. And so those are the many facets of things that we do at Anchor Point. Ultimately, I go, we just want to help families thrive and be the best parents that we can be so that our kids can be the best kids they can be.
Awesome, Debbie. That's a great legacy you're leaving behind. You're building, that's a great legacy you're building, I tell you. It's amazing what you're doing. So I wanted to ask, how do you blend strategic leadership with spiritual wisdom?
Oh, that's a good one. I pray, pray, pray. First of all, that's the biggest thing for me. Is one of the things that I think for leaders is sometimes we get so busy that we don't leave space in our schedule to just have time with God and to dream and to let Him awaken in us the desires that He wants us to lead our organizations through. So I would say, I have to be very diligent about trying to work time in where I can just be quiet and I can hear God's still small voice and hear Him challenging us to go rise up to the next level. And here's the way that I want to go. Then I would say our job as leaders is to plan the next best steps. Okay. Maybe not the next right step because we never know if it's exactly right, but we can do the next best thing. And then what we do is we hold our hands open and we say, okay, God, here's our next best step. And we start walking. And then God opens and closes doors as He sees fits because we're not holding on so tight that we can't flow with where the Holy Spirit and where God is leading us. And He just directs us that way. I have never had a situation where we've just been bored wondering what to do because God has always at least put in me, but I think even in my staff, this desire that we want to take more land. We want to make sure that we're telling people about Jesus. We want to have more people go with us into heaven. And so what can we do to come alongside, because the needs in the arenas that we work in are so great and we don't want to miss um being the hands and feet of Jesus, which earns us the right to share about our Jesus.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just like the previous meeting I had, I said, you're not an expert because you've got all of the skills and all of this insight. What makes you a true expert is the fact that you give credit to God. And I tell you, I find people like you powerful. The fact that You are giving all of the credit to Jesus. He is the King, He is Christ, and He is Lord today, tomorrow, and forever. That's amazing. I love that. So to bring this to an end, Debbie, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've discussed so far, or make a purchase of your programs or your book, how can that be possible? Okay, Debbie, can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my network went off. So I said for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've discussed so far, get your book or ask questions, how can that be?
Sure. The one of the best ways is to just go to the website, which is thedebbie.simmons.com. So just put the TAG in front of Debbie Simmons, and there's a tab for the book, The Heart of Legacy, which is a great thing for learning more about my story, but also how God used that. And they can pick up tips on being focused, faithful, and fearless in their walk with God. And so that's the best way to get hold of me, and it'll take them to Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Beautiful. So do you have any final thought?
Yes, I always have a final thought. Here is my thing: if I could convince people to do anything, I would just say, lean in and trust Him, even if it doesn't seem like it's the right thing. It is the right thing. That is just Satan clouding our minds, or our negative thoughts clouding, and lean in and trust him. He has never failed me yet. He is, I should be abandoned and broke and everything with starting a ministry and all the stuff that we've done. And he has constantly been faithful every time. He's faithful in the Bible. So he's faithful back then, he's faithful now, and he will be faithful tomorrow. And it's worth it. It's worth it. It always is.
I love that. So that's going to be the end of the show, Debbie. Thank you so very much for coming, and thank you for sharing this beautiful story.
Did it work all right?